Hi, it's Paul here from selfoutforlife.com, and today I'm going to talk about how to change a limiting belief. So what is a belief? Well, beliefs are psychological rules that influence our thoughts and filter our experience of reality. Now, we filter information by deleting things, distorting things, and generalizing things about our experience. So beliefs are basically assumptions about ourselves, assumptions about other people, and how we expect the world to be. And beliefs help us understand and make sense of the world. They provide meaning and they provide certainty, which is something that we really crave in life. Now, the thing about beliefs is that they are not true or false. They are rather our interpretation, or our best interpretation, of what we see, hear, feel, taste and smell. And beliefs are not facts. However, they can be mistaken as facts if deeply rooted, especially from experiences from childhood. What beliefs really are, though, are conclusions drawn from life experiences, especially those, again, from childhood and younger experiences. Because what happens is, as we become adults, our life changes. But many of our beliefs don't change, and they then start to get in the way. And I wonder, has your past created limitations on what you believe you can do right now? So how is a belief created? Well, they are created and then become ingrained due to repeated situations or events that prove that they are true for you. This could be certain facts, evidence, reference experience, other people, and they over time become opinions. And then you keep thinking about these repetitively and keep taking the same action. So then those opinions turn into beliefs. And those beliefs are more stronger, more stable and more robust than an opinion. Now, what can then happen is a belief can turn into a conviction. It becomes so ingrained that it just can't be changed, even if all the evidence is to the contrary. So I'm now going to give you two examples of how a belief is created and then becomes not useful later on. Okay, so in India, baby elephants are tied to stumps of trees by ropes. Now the baby elephant realizes it can't move. It realizes it's tied to this tree, and so it doesn't. And then the elephant grows, and this grown elephant easily has the strength to take the tree and the rope with it, but it doesn't, because it believes it can't. So although it's got the strength to do it, it doesn't believe it can, so it doesn't. Okay, another example is the flea experiment. So what this experiment did is they put a flea in a jar with the lid off it, and the flea jumps out of the jar. They then put the flea back in the jar and they put the lid on the jar. Okay, so now the flea jumps and it hits the lid of the jar and it hurts. So it then jumps back down again, and over time it starts to jump less high because it doesn't want the pain of hitting the lid of the jar. So it jumps less high. Then they take the lid off the jar and the flea keeps jumping, but not quite to the top of the jar. It jumps to where it feels comfortable because it associates pain with jumping any higher. So the flea has the ability to jump out of that jar and become free, but it doesn't because it doesn't believe it can. So just think about those metaphors and think back to beliefs that you had in your younger days that are not true now. Things have changed in life, but the belief has stayed the same. So in both examples, the belief formed was useful at first, and it was held in place by supporting evidence. In the case of the flea, the lid on the jar. In the case of the elephant, the rope. And there were some emotions as well, especially in the case of the flea. Hitting the top of the lid of the jar would have been uncomfortable, so there was that uncomfortable emotion. So to break a limiting belief, you need to get rid of the emotions, the emotional superglue, and then get rid of the evidence, and then you can change it. And a great analogy for how a belief works and how to change it is a tabletop. So imagine the belief is the tabletop. Then you have the legs, and the legs are the supporting evidence. Okay, so the more legs, the more supporting evidence you have, and then the glue that holds those table legs to the tabletop is like the emotions, the emotional superglue. So to break a limiting belief, you need to decrease or remove the emotional superglue. Then you can destroy the evidence, which knocks out the legs, and then the table will just fall over and that limiting belief has been destroyed. So I'm now going to cover a 9-step process to help you change a limiting belief. So step 1 is to identify the limiting belief. Now the limiting belief could be an I am statement. For example, I am disorganized, or I am bad at public speaking, or I am a procrastinator. Or it could be about the world in general. For example, I'll never be able to afford to buy a house. Or it's so competitive, I can't keep up. Now remember, these beliefs are not true or false, they're just helpful or unhelpful. So for me, the example I'm going to use in this exercise is I'm really bad at working out and keeping fit and strong. So the second step is to examine the belief. So create a list of what is helpful and not helpful about that belief. Then you will decide if the belief is more helpful or more of a hindrance to your life. So in my example about exercise, what is helpful about that belief is that I can avoid pain and discomfort. And I can use that time to do other things. Now what is unhelpful about that belief is if I don't work out, I could get sick later in life. Working out could give me more energy, so I could get more done. And I used to be bad at lots of things, but I've improved with practice. Okay, so come up with a list of what's helpful about that belief and what is not helpful, and then decide whether that belief is worth changing or not based on that evidence. Okay, number 3 is to work out if there is a core belief behind that belief. Okay, now the main core beliefs are as follows: I am not good enough, I am not worthy enough, or I don't deserve this. Or the world is not a safe place for me, or I am powerless, or love and relationships equal pain. So they're the main core beliefs. Now in the case of my exercise example, it's probably something along the I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough. Okay, so I'm really bad at working out and keeping fit and strong. Behind that belief is something that I'm not good enough. Okay, so just knowing that core belief can really help you, because then you can work more on the core belief behind it rather than the surface level belief. So step 4 is to choose a belief that would be more useful. And the way to do this is normally to think of the opposite to what the limiting belief is. So here's some examples. The limiting belief of I will always be single and alone becomes I can find a partner that is perfect for me. Or the limiting belief I will never be able to get a job that I enjoy becomes I can find a job that I enjoy and the process will be easy for me. Or the limiting belief I'm so set in my ways it's impossible for me to change. That becomes I make small changes each day and it is becoming easier and easier for me. Or the limiting belief I will never be able to earn a 6-figure salary becomes I can earn as much as I want to earn. And my exercise 1 is going to become exercise is a skill and I can get good at it, enjoy it and reap the health benefits. So number 5 is to identify the emotional and other payoffs of that limiting belief. So there will be some benefits in keeping that limiting belief, and those emotional benefits are what are holding the limiting belief in place. So for the example of I can't make more money and become rich, some of the emotional payoffs or benefits are I can commiserate with friends who also say that they are poor, or I can give up trying to make more money and have an easy life instead, or I can avoid the extra perceived stresses of becoming rich, or I can avoid the discomfort of earning more money, or I can continue to focus and dwell on my previous failures in my attempts to make money. Now, the limiting belief I can't talk to the opposite sex, some of the emotional payoffs of that could be I can enjoy going out with my mates. I got rejected when I last tried to do this. I don't need to embarrass myself. People will take pity on me for being single, and I can avoid the complications of being in a relationship. And for the core belief of I am not good enough, some of the payoffs could be I get pity when I feel like I'm not good enough, or when I express that to somebody else. And it feels like people care about me, and I can give up responsibility for having to try something new. And for my example about being bad at exercise and fitness, some of the benefits I have of that is I can keep talking about improving my fitness. I can watch YouTube videos and learn about fitness without having to apply it. I don't need to worry about accidentally injuring myself. It feels comfortable not doing it. And I don't have to put in the work and experience the pain. So step 6 is to decide if the emotional payoff is still worth it. So look at the emotional payoffs that you identified in step number 5 and decide whether the limiting belief is worth keeping because of the emotional benefits or the emotional payoffs. And if it is, that's fine, you just stay with that belief. But if you decide that it's not, then it's time to change that belief right now. And actually the act of just deciding will start to dissolve that emotional super glue that's keeping that limiting belief in place. Now, step number 7 is to reframe existing evidence. Now, here's a reminder. A belief is simply our best interpretation based on the evidence we had at the time. And times have changed. And so it's time to look at that evidence and interpret it in a new way. And what you can do here is play devil's advocate. Go and find a different meaning to the existing evidence. So here are some reframes for the money example. So commiserating with friends who are also poor is going to get boring after a while, and it won't help me become more successful and happy. An easy life could be nice, but I'm never going to feel truly happy, and I'll have this nagging doubt in my mind that I could have achieved more. Or having a lot of money makes life so much easier because I can pay for other people to do my chores, and travelling business class on a flight is much easier than travelling in economy. Or having lots of money means that I can pay for people to do things that currently stress me out, and I can pay to get expert advice to help me manage and reduce any additional stress that money does cause. And most people don't do things that are uncomfortable or hard, so if I do these things, I'm doing the things that most people are not willing to do, which means I'm going to get the benefits that other people are not going to get. And failing in the past doesn't make me a failure. It just means that I've gained more knowledge and wisdom to succeed next time. So you can see how I'm reframing the existing evidence here and giving it a new meaning. Now, to reframe the evidence around my exercise limiting belief, this could include I can still talk to people about fitness, and it will be so much better now because I'll be talking from my personal experience rather than just knowledge in theory. And I can still watch YouTube videos about fitness, but it'll be really nice now because I know that I've already applied that information and I understand what they're talking about. Or it could be if I take things steadily and sensibly, the risk of injuring myself is no greater than for anything else that I could do in life. Or I could hurt myself in the long term by not being active. Or anything new feels uncomfortable. Besides, doing what's uncomfortable builds up mental and physical resilience and will help me reduce stress. Or it could be, if I don't do the exercise, I'm going to experience pain later in life by not focusing on a key aspect of my health, which is exercise. So you can see how I've been reframing quite a lot of the old evidence that I came up with there. So step 8 is to find new evidence to support the new belief. So we've already reframed existing evidence, now we're going to look for new evidence. So the thing about beliefs is that they focus your mind on certain things, and you then ignore other evidence that does not match that belief. So for instance, if you believe you're unattractive, you're more likely to notice funny looks from others, you're more likely to look at the bits that you don't like in the mirror, you're more likely to ignore the smiles, greetings and compliments, or you'll discount them as not relevant. So you kind of filter out any information that's not in alignment with that limiting belief. And this is why limiting beliefs tend to get worse over time, because you get this vicious cycle where you continually focus on anything that supports the belief and ignore anything that doesn't. So this is why consciously you want to find new evidence to prove that that old evidence and that old belief is wrong. And when you do this along with the previous step of reframing evidence, you're starting now to knock out those table legs that are behind that limiting belief. So what you want to do is go hunting for proof, for new evidence, Google it, read books, articles, find information that supports that new belief, okay? And they're going to be like your new legs for the table of your new belief. So in the example here of I can earn as much as I want to, so the money example, some new evidence could be there are people out there with less intelligence, knowledge and experience that make more money than me. Or the people that make the most money give the most value to others. Or there are plenty of rich people out there that are happy and relaxed. And my exercise example, so my new belief was exercise is a skill that I can get good at, enjoy and reap the health benefits. So some new evidence for that could be there are people in far worse health than me that have massively improved their health by exercising regularly and would have been experiencing far more discomfort than I would ever need to. Or all the successful people that I know do regular physical activity and make it a priority in their life. Therefore, to be really successful myself, I need to be physically active. So you can see how that new evidence really supports that new belief. They're like the new legs on the table of that new belief. So step number 9, the last step, is to use affirmations correctly. So with affirmations, if the affirmation is not believable, you're going to get a conflict. And the way around that is to use something called stepping stone affirmations. So let me give you an example. Let's say that I want to change the belief of I don't deserve success. If I replace that with I deserve to be successful, and I keep saying that to myself over and over again, it's likely that my body is going to experience some kind of emotional resistance because it's just not believable. It's too much the opposite of the old belief. But I could have some stepping stone affirmations that could be things like I deserve to spend some time for me each week. I deserve to become a good mum, dad, tennis player, fill in the blank. So here I'm saying about deserving to be successful and one aspect of life rather than everything. Or it could be, when I do my best work, I know that success is on its way. So this is putting it within my control. When I do my best, I know that success is coming my way. And once you say those affirmations often enough, you'll eventually get to a point where you can say, I deserve to be successful, and you feel that congruently in your body. So going back to my exercise example now, so to support my new belief around exercise, I could have some stepping stone affirmations such as every day I get a little bit better with my exercise routine. I find it easy to exercise 3 to 4 times a week. Or the more I exercise, the more I notice subtle and not quite so subtle improvements to my health. So I hope you found this video on how to change your limiting beliefs useful. What I recommend you do now is identify 1, 2 or 3 limiting beliefs and then go through this video again, pausing it at each step and doing that step yourself. It's one thing to know something, it's another thing completely to actually do it and experience it. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, a thumbs up. Please also leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what you think. And do subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and click the bell notification. That way you'll get notified when I release future videos. And do check out my website, that is selfhelpforlife.com. On there you will find the written versions to many of these videos and also a link to my podcast and social media. So I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I look forward to sharing more great content with you very soon. Bye for now.